very interesting times, and I made a lot of mistakes myself as a young co-founder CEO. I didn't understand a whole lot about the human side of things, how to lead teams, how to lead people yet. And the more I have been doing these startups in a row, and even slightly bigger startups like Wunderkraut now, the more I think that it's all about the talent, the people, the attitude, the mindset. Usually these companies, they rise or fall completely on the human side of things, on the soft side of things. They don't rise or fall depending on the hard side of things like technology or not making sales or something like working capital issues or things like these. All of those are easy and easily solved if you've got the human component figured out. So it's mostly about humans and most importantly about human interaction. But I didn't know that yet when I founded Taiga as a 21-year-old, and I had to learn the hard way. I made many mistakes leading the company as a young CEO back then. I, for example, acted in a way that was perceived as being really controlling in a negative way to people. So in the worst case situation, this might have meant that I was a micromanager. I was breathing down on people's necks, and I was seeking mistakes in everything that they did. And whenever I had a conversation about any topic with anybody, I had this compulsion about saying the final word in that conversation, and basically not giving people a room to breathe and the freedom that they need to do their own job. Being this asshole of a micromanager that goes around the office just poking everything that he sees. Not only that destroys the results, what these people could otherwise achieve, it also destroys the people themselves, like completely destroys their motivation and their desire to work for that kind of company. And this was a big personal learning experience for me, and nowadays I tend to be the exact opposite, the mirror image of a micromanager. This guy who trusts people so much that sometimes they break apart because they have too much responsibility and they feel like they cannot handle it themselves, or even a whole team cannot handle it. But that is far better option than being a micromanager. Basically, if you feel happy about going to sleep each night as a CEO, then you haven't given enough responsibility to your people. You have to be awake at night a little bit, wondering about will they burn down your factory or not, because you've given them the power to do so. But one of the things that I wish I would have learned earlier and would have known back then is that basically if you really want to learn from your experiences, you have to understand that it's not just big failures like these, not just big bankruptcies and whole companies going bust, but it's actually many failures throughout every week and every day, that you encounter these micro resistance and these micro failures all the time. So one of the really valuable tools in learning from all of that is a journal. Yep, something like that. I'm not really good at typing. And if you don't keep a journal, then at least you should keep a weekly plan. And this is actually what I do more than a journal. So I have this weekly plan nowadays, being involved with multiple companies, being a managing director in one growth company is kind of demanding on your time schedule. And what I do is that I have this weekly plan that extends up to Saturdays and Sundays of that week. And before the week starts, I've already planned out my following week. Those of who you know the Scrum methodology or the Agile methodology, and you know about sprints, this is basically the same as working with a weekly sprint. And I like working with a weekly sprint more than I like a constant ongoing Kanban kind of type of pipe, because I can still run Kanban inside one individual day, but I need to plan out my week as a sprint. So I'm running weekly sprints with continuous Kanban per day. So my weekly plan runs through from Monday to Sunday, and I'm even planning the weekends, because quite often we have like startup board meetings and stuff going on during the weekends, and there's things that I need to prepare for and write during the weekends. And whenever a week starts, I basically start this kind of Kanban pipe inside the week or inside the day. I have all the tasks that I need to get done this week. I know which ones they are. I know the priorities of them roughly, and then I start running this kind of funnel of resource restriction and seeing what's the most important thing that I can do. And if somebody approaches me during the week, and somebody, for example, asks me on Monday that would you have time on Thursday for a meeting, the answer is always going to be no, no time, because my week is already planned and locked 1 week before. But I have time next Thursday, the week after that. So it's running an ongoing plan like this. And what this has to do with learning is that when you save your weekly plans and you save every one of these files that you've done over the years, this becomes a lot of data that kind of becomes like a journal. And when you encounter this kind of failed experience, that you bankrupt an entire company, or you fail at something in a big way, you try to work on a breakthrough or a big sale, and after working half a year on it, you still can't make it. When you return to this kind of material and you review all of your weekly plans and all of your journals from the time when you were working with this problem, it's a really educational experience. You can learn a ton from that, because you see these obvious mistakes in hindsight. You see these stupid things that you thought were true. You see all of this excitement that is really misguided excitement in the wrong place. But you also see things that are very good, very correct, and even in hindsight they might be very functional. It just turns out that you didn't concentrate enough of them. So maybe you had a really good task here, but you never picked that tasks to be properly worked on and completed in time. So you had a chance, but you kind of spoiled it, and you can see that with hindsight 2020. Hugely useful working on a weekly plan, writing a journal, and saving all of this data. Like I just have a really simple Excel, and I just save one new Excel file per week, and then I have a folder that has all of them. They're backed up and they're all in Evernote as well, so I won't lose the stuff. One other method that we use in the middle of being inside the tornado of failing, like in the middle of a week we encounter some kind of fail, and it's a big way of failing. We use quite often, especially in software companies, we use this 5 whys process. So we ask why 5 consecutive times, or at least 5 consecutive times. And this is known as a root cause analysis, and it's very useful, especially for technical systems and anything that can fail in that regard. But also we use it sometimes for people. That when we encounter big problems with people start getting tired, people don't perform for some reason, or they are in way over their heads and they become so stressed that basically all the actions kind of diminishes, and they just worry about the stress all the time. We also use this similar kind of behavior on people. That this person appears to be nearing a burnout. Why is that? What caused it? Why is that? What caused that? And going deeper and deeper into the root cause. When you discover a root cause, or you discover these different layers of causes behind the initial question why, the important thing is to incrementally invest into fixing all of these levels. Not fully try to correct the situation at once, but incrementally investing a little bit into all of these levels. For example, if some documentation was missing, it's a good incremental investment to invest 4 hours into writing more documentation, but no more than 4 hours, just an incremental investment. And repeating this over and over again makes you more immune to failure. And you also get to learn, because you save all of this data, you see all the questions that you ask, you see all the answers that you thought was the problem, and then later on you can return to this when you fail again in the same thing. So it creates this pipeline of educational material that you can use. One of the really valid tools that you can use to learn from failing and learn from these repeated mistakes and not getting it right as an entrepreneur is to have a mentor. And mentors can be hugely useful, and there are 2 kinds of mentors in my opinion. There are the ones that can help you pre-decision, that can help you with decisions when you are making the decision or before you've made the decision. They can spar together with you, they can offer alternatives, they can ask the right kind of questions, and they can help you make better decisions. And then there are the mentors who are much better at post-decision analysis. That you've already made some decisions, you've already acted out, you've already decided on a course of action, and then later on you go through a post-mortem analysis or retro analysis together with this mentor, and you break it apart. You break the results apart, you break your actions apart, you break your motives of choosing that course of action apart, and you analyze the whole thing with the mentor, and then kind of re-spar it over together with the mentor. And I use almost exclusively these kind of post type of mentors. I pretty much almost have no persons in my life that I would consult before making a decision. And lately, like maybe during the past year, I've kind of wondered why this is, that why I don't welcome and want help when I'm making the decision. And it probably has something to do with psychology and my childhood, being the eldest child of 6 children and whatnot. That it's just the way I've learned to handle it, and I never been comfortable about sparring through decision options with anybody before the decision is actually made, because I kind of always prepare for the situation that nobody can help me, I'm alone, and I need to make the decision alone. Then once it's made, we can analyze it later on. Then maybe next time I'm better, but this time I'm making it alone. This is the logic. But people are very different, and it helps if you know yourself and you get to know yourself really, really well, and you make a choice, like which kind of way of working with mentors would help you the best.
I would like to know about the emotional side. How do you handle the uncertainty with the startups?
Yeah, startups are pretty much full of uncertainty. But it's a comforting thing. It's the only thing that is certain with startups, the uncertainty and chaos. And if you work with a fully chaotic system, actually what theory teaches us is that it's not important to make planning at all, because planning is completely useless as a tool. You should just do actions and see what the results of the actions are. And then when you see the results of the actions, you do more actions. You don't do any planning in any cycle along the way. And this is kind of comforting that especially really early stage startups who start with just an idea, a one vision or a huge bunch of assumptions on how their idea could work out. This is a good model to work with. Just try and do actions that test out your idea. And once you get your results, just do more actions. Don't go into excessive planning unless there's a really, really good reason to go through that. And a good reason might be to clarify your own thoughts. That you write everything down so that you can clarify your own thoughts. But then don't think that plan is ever going to happen, because most of the time it's not going to happen. And you develop this kind of attitude towards chaos. And this kind of uncertainty doesn't bother you as much. And obviously having 5 exits helps, that it's not financially a big deal if your next startup doesn't make it, boo-hoo. You can always start another one, that you are no longer 100,000 K in the debt invested into this startup. And this is, by the way, precisely the reason why Silicon Valley investors, why they like these kind of serial entrepreneur people who have gone through an exit before, why they like them so much, is precisely because of this reason, that these persons don't carry that much personal risk into the next startup they're building, and because of this they can really maximize the opportunity.
If you only had 3 things that you would want to pass on to the ones who are going to be entrepreneurs for the first time, what lessons would you teach them? What do you think that are the most important things to consider once you are starting a new startup?
Mm-hmm. This might be a little bit of a recapping, but the first one would be that take this human stuff seriously, because it's so damn important that it's something that you can't afford to miss. The next thing would be that one of your most important jobs, now that you are a startup entrepreneur, is to build up capability towards change in whatever way you can. Be ready to change and assume that you have to change multiple times. Don't overplan, don't nail things down, always have something in the reserve, and always balance your life in such a way that you have reserve capacity. That when you hit a straight of 3 weeks that you can't sleep and you have to work throughout the nights, you have the mental capacity to go through those 3 weeks and pull something magical out of your hat. So prepare for this kind of change and hard times. That would be valuable advice. Also, third piece of advice is that nobody pretty much can do it by themselves. That from the first moment onwards, try to work with teams, try to build the teams, and try to discuss the correct kind of things through with the teams. For example, in a really early stage startup that has a lot of ideas, a lot of visions, a lot of assumptions, but not a whole lot of products and revenue and customers and these kind of things yet, one of the things that is very, very important regarding how to organize as teams is these 3 questions that teams should go through and answer for themselves. First one is being, how do we organize ourselves? What kind of tools we use, and how do we learn together as a team? And you notice that none of these questions have to do with traditional business plan. That none of these questions ask you what's your business model, what's your revenue logic, and what's your customer segmentation. These are not good questions for a startup in a really early stage. How do we organize ourselves? What kind of tools we use, and how do we learn jointly together as a team are by far more important questions. This changes down the road, but in the start, when you start with ideas and assumptions, this is really important. So I guess, okay, that's a summary of 3 things.